The Crusades and the growth of medieval European power. The Crusades were a pivotal force in shaping the political and military landscape of medieval Europe. Initially conceived as religious campaigns to reclaim the Holy Land, they inadvertently contributed to the growth of European power by fostering political centralization, economic development, and technological innovation. This chapter explores how the Crusades helped Europe emerge as a dominant force in the medieval world. 1. The Crusades and the consolidation of monarchical power. Before the Crusades, Europe was fragmented into feudal states ruled by local lords, with monarchs exerting only limited authority. The Crusades offered kings an opportunity to centralize power and assert control over their domains. Military organization and royal authority. Kings such as Louis VII of France and Richard the Lionheart of England played prominent roles in crusading efforts, enhancing their prestige and demonstrating their capacity to mobilize large armies. The need to organize and finance crusades required stronger bureaucracies. Monarchs established systems for taxation, record-keeping, and logistics, many of which became permanent fixtures of royal administration. Crusades provided monarchs with a pretext to assert control over rebellious lords by channeling their energies toward external campaigns. By leading or supporting crusades, monarchs could bind vassals closer to the crown. Examples of consolidation. England and France. The Crusades reinforced royal authority by uniting disparate regions under a common cause. In England, Henry II used revenues from his kingdom to fund the Third Crusade, solidifying the monarchy's role in national governance. Spain. The Reconquista, often considered part of the broader crusading movement, enabled Spanish monarchs to expand their territories and assert control over the Muslim-dominated Iberian Peninsula. 2. Economic growth and the foundations of European wealth. The Crusades stimulated trade and commerce, laying the groundwork for Europe's eventual economic dominance. Expansion of trade networks. Crusaders returning from the East brought with them a taste for luxury goods such as spices, silk, and precious metals. This demand spurred the growth of trade routes connecting Europe to the Byzantine and Islamic worlds. Italian city-states like Venice and Genoa thrived by facilitating crusader transport and supplying the armies. These cities became economic powerhouses, serving as intermediaries for trade between East and West. Development of financial systems. The financing of crusades required innovative solutions. The Templars, for example, developed early banking systems, offering loans and secure deposits for crusaders. Monarchs introduced new taxes to fund campaigns, such as the Saladin tithe in England. These taxes laid the groundwork for centralized fiscal policies that strengthened the state. Urban growth. Increased trade contributed to the growth of medieval towns and cities, which became centers of commerce and production. The urbanization of Europe accelerated as a direct result of the Crusades' economic impact. 3. Military innovations and technological advancements. The Crusades exposed European armies to advanced military tactics, technologies, and fortification techniques from the Byzantine and Islamic worlds. These innovations would significantly enhance European military power. Fortifications and siege warfare. Crusaders encountered sophisticated fortresses in the Levant, prompting them to adopt and improve upon Eastern fortification techniques. The concentric castles built in Europe after the Crusades were inspired by those in the Holy Land. Siege technologies such as counterweight trebuchets were refined during the Crusades and became staples of European warfare. Naval power. The Crusades drove advancements in shipbuilding and navigation. Maritime republics like Venice developed more efficient ships to transport crusaders and goods, technologies that later facilitated European exploration and colonial expansion. Weaponry and tactics. Exposure to mounted archery, particularly the use of composite bows by Muslim forces, influenced European cavalry tactics. Crusaders brought back improved armor designs and crossbows, which became standard in European armies. 4. The growth of papal and ecclesiastical power. The Crusades significantly bolstered the power and influence of the Catholic Church, which played a central role in organizing and legitimizing these campaigns. The papacy as a political power. The Crusades allowed popes like Urban II and Innocent III to assert authority over monarchs and nobles by framing themselves as leaders of Christendom. The concept of holy war gave the Church unprecedented influence over European politics, with popes often mediating disputes and directing the energies of powerful rulers. Religious institutions and wealth. Crusading orders such as the Templars and Hospitallers became immensely wealthy and influential, often acting as independent political entities. Their wealth and military prowess further enhanced the Church's global reach. Donations to fund crusades enriched monasteries and religious institutions, reinforcing their roles as centers of power and economic activity. 5. Cultural and intellectual growth. The Crusades stimulated cultural exchange and intellectual curiosity, contributing to Europe's eventual dominance in the arts and sciences. Knowledge transfer. Contact with the Islamic world during the Crusades exposed Europeans to advanced knowledge in fields such as medicine, astronomy, and mathematics. The introduction of Arabic numerals, algebra, and navigational tools like the astrolabe directly influenced European science and exploration. Cultural unity and identity. The Crusades fostered a sense of shared identity among European Christians, emphasizing their cultural distinctiveness in contrast to the Islamic world. This proto-nationalism would later evolve into the more defined national identities of modern Europe. 6. Long-term political consequences. While the Crusades initially aimed to expand Christendom's borders, their unintended political consequences were equally significant. Emergence of nation-states. The centralization of power during the Crusades laid the groundwork for the rise of nation-states. Monarchs gained experience in organizing large-scale campaigns, which later translated into more efficient governance. Feudalism began to decline as monarchs relied less on local lords and more on centralized armies funded by taxation. Decline of Byzantine power. Ironically, the Fourth Crusade, which resulted in the sacking of Constantinople in 1204, weakened the Byzantine Empire, a key ally of Western Europe. This event paved the way for the Ottoman Empire's rise and the eventual fall of Constantinople in 1453. 7. The Crusades and the European expansionist spirit. The Crusades instilled in Europeans a sense of exploration and expansion that would later manifest in the Age of Discovery. Colonial precedents. The establishment of Crusader states in the Levant, though short-lived, served as early models for European colonization. The experiences of governing distant territories prepared European powers for future colonial enterprises in the Americas, Africa, and Asia. The maritime legacy. The naval technologies and trade routes developed during the Crusades were instrumental in European exploration, culminating in voyages like those of Christopher Columbus and Vasco da Gama. 8. The Crusades and the decline of feudalism. The Crusades were instrumental in accelerating the decline of the feudal system, which dominated Europe in the early medieval period. By altering the traditional relationships between lords, vassals, and monarchs, the Crusades set the stage for more centralized political structures and the emergence of early modern states. Shifting loyalties. Crusading campaigns required lords to abandon their estates for extended periods, often leaving them in the care of stewards or monarchs. This absence weakened the feudal bonds that tied knights and peasants to their local lords. Many vassals who participated in the Crusades came to rely more on the monarchs who financed their journeys, diminishing their fealty to local lords. Economic impacts on feudal lords. The high costs of crusading forced many lords to sell or mortgage their lands, leading to the rise of a wealthy merchant class and an increase in landholdings directly controlled by monarchs or the church. This redistribution of wealth and land contributed to the decline of the manorial economy, a cornerstone of feudalism, as more peasants moved to growing towns and cities, seeking opportunities outside of the lord-vassal relationship. Mercenary armies and professional soldiers. The Crusades demonstrated the effectiveness of organized, professional armies over traditional feudal levies. Monarchs began to employ mercenaries, funded through taxation, further reducing their reliance on feudal lords for military support. 9. The role of Crusader states in expanding European influence. The Crusades led to the establishment of Crusader states such as the Kingdom of Jerusalem, the Principality of Antioch, and the County of Tripoli. Although these states were short-lived, they served as crucial experiments in governance, military strategy, and cultural exchange. Governance and administration. The Crusader states introduced Western feudal structures into the Levant, blending them with Byzantine and Islamic administrative practices. This hybrid governance model influenced later colonial administrations. Legal systems in the Crusader states often incorporated local customs alongside Western laws, demonstrating a level of pragmatism that foreshadowed modern colonial legal frameworks. Cultural exchange and integration. The Crusader states became melting pots where Christians, Muslims, and Jews coexisted, often uneasily, but with moments of significant cooperation and exchange. This interaction introduced Crusaders to Eastern technologies, medical practices, and agricultural techniques. Military innovations. The challenges of defending Crusader states against superior Muslim forces pushed European leaders to innovate in military strategy and fortifications. Many of these advancements were later applied in European conflicts. 10. The Crusades and the maritime powers. The Crusades were a boon to Europe's maritime powers, particularly Venice, Genoa, and Pisa, which played a critical role in transporting Crusaders and supplies to the Holy Land. Their involvement had far-reaching consequences for Europe's economic and military development. Rise of maritime republics. The transportation of Crusaders required extensive fleets, which maritime republics like Venice provided in exchange for commercial privileges. These cities used their newfound wealth to dominate Mediterranean trade. The Fourth Crusade, which culminated in the sack of Constantinople, was orchestrated largely by Venetian leaders who sought to eliminate a key commercial rival. This event marked a shift in power from the Byzantine Empire to Western Europe. Control of trade routes. By securing access to key ports and trade routes in the Eastern Mediterranean, maritime republics expanded Europe's economic influence. These routes became vital conduits for the flow of goods, ideas, and technologies between East and West, paving the way for exploration. The naval advancements made during the Crusades, such as improved ship designs and navigation techniques, directly influenced the maritime capabilities of European explorers in the Age of Discovery. 11. Intellectual transformation and the Renaissance. The Crusades played a significant role in shaping the intellectual transformation of Europe, setting the stage for the Renaissance and the scientific revolution. Transmission of knowledge. Through contact with the Islamic world, Crusaders encountered advanced knowledge in fields such as mathematics, astronomy, medicine, and philosophy. Islamic scholars had preserved and expanded upon the works of ancient Greek and Roman thinkers, which Crusaders brought back to Europe. Key contributions included medicine. Islamic medical texts, such as those by Avicenna and Al-Razi, introduced Europeans to advanced surgical techniques and pharmacology. Mathematics. The adoption of Arabic numerals and algebra revolutionized European mathematics. Philosophy. Works by Aristotle, preserved and commented upon by Islamic scholars, inspired scholastic thinkers such as Thomas Aquinas.